Kurt Warner, Nate Tice, Ryan Fitzpatrick, all coming to the rescue. We're moving forward. Caleb, Ben getting ready for Detroit. We got a ton from Halas Hall. Adam Jahns joining us. Don't go anywhere. CHGO Bears starts right now. This is the CHGO Bears Podcast, proudly presented by Bet365 on a beautiful Thursday with a ton going on at Halas Hall. It is never ordinary at Bet365, alongside my handy-dandy trusty mentor. I think you moved up to mentor today.
Right.
Gregory P. Allen Braggs, and the P stands for nervous today, as you were very concerned about today's show, but I think we're
patience. The P stands for patience.
Oh, patience. It's true. You were incredibly patient. As I mentioned, Adam Jahns is coming up in about 10 minutes. Looking forward to talking to Jahns. He was out at Halas Hall. Hoge's out there working too. We got a bunch of stuff playing for you, and it was an interesting day yesterday, Gregory, with a lot of people underlining that they are liking what they're seeing from Caleb, and Caleb speaking as well, so we'll get to that in a second. But I think Bears fans are feeling a little bit better that Kurt Warner, who had one of the most unique careers in the history of the NFL at the quarterback position, came to the Caleb Williams defense yesterday as he went through the tape and did 30 minutes of YouTube action going through it. Where do you want to throw the ball here? Look at this. This was a good decision by him. He went through his progressions. I give him a plus here. So you got guys who know the position, Ryan Fitzpatrick included, and Nate Tice, by the way, who we had on this show way back at the Super Bowl 2 years ago now, and he was saying, I think Drake May's the best guy in this draft. Nate Tice is saying nice things about him. So a lot of positive on 18 yesterday coming from different corners.
Yeah, I think it just kind of lends the matter of perspective for each person, and everyone's going to look at this a different way. And Kurt Warner, I showed his homework. He showed the notes he took throughout it, and even did a 30-minute YouTube video on it. And I think it just kind of goes to show you that we're so hyper-focused on every single little detail because that's what we do, right? We're all the way from the start of training camp, we're charting every snap, every movement, every breath, every delayed game, every false start.
Because we're elite.
Because we are elite. And
that's right.
Sometimes you need that aerial view from somebody that isn't as close to it to kind of lend you a fresh perspective. And it is refreshing to see some different people kind of come in. Because like the overthrow to DJ Moore on the left side in the fourth quarter. Well, yeah, guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick and a few other people like, look, he's throwing a corner route. He's throwing it to the pylon. And so there's a question of whether or not, how hard can you be on Caleb Williams on every single particular throw? I think ultimately for me, when you look through some of the different breakdowns and you look at the positives and you look at the negatives, you see that he started 10 for 10. Then the rest of the game starts to look how it looked last year. The one thing I would say is, while there was certainly some accuracy issues throughout that game, the one thing I think you did see was Caleb Williams having an emphasis of trying to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And so he misses the throw on the fourth down to DJ Moore. He misses the throw to Cole Kmet in the fourth quarter, which was the exact same throw. But I think the silver lining on both of those plays is he's getting the ball. He recognized exactly where he needed to go with the ball. And so it was the correct decision. Now you got to calm yourself and get the accuracy on point. But I think in those moments, he wasn't holding it on too long, taking a bad sack. He was identifying where to go with the ball, getting it out of his hands quickly, and now it's about making sure your fundamentals are sound with your footwork and your eyes. And if you're going to move the linebacker, you got to get back and lead with your feet and fire a much more accurate pass. So slowing down a little bit, but I think from a process standpoint, there were a lot of good decisions that Caleb Williams made.
Yeah, and I look, I try to keep things I try to keep things calm, simple, and then I've got calm press conference analysis out there, which I know you're all on the edge of your seat waiting for, which I'm looking forward to doing. And if Caleb wants to, I'm happy to, be on the team. Let him, if Carl wants to give me, I can tell you how to handle the Dan Wiederers and the Mark Grotes of the world. I can do this for you. But look, on the simple part of it, when you're watching the game at the start of it on Monday night, dude looks better. Dude looks way more poised. Now, I wouldn't say he looked completely calm. I thought he was having success sort of in a skittishness. Like it was, he's kind of, it's all over. It's the first snaps of a brand new season. He's not going to be in midseason just with a brand new coach and all of this. There's no way he's going to be able to settle in. And even including all of that, there they go right down the field, scripted plays, and a touchdown. Okay. Then as the game goes on, it seemed like things just sort of sped up, and he couldn't sort of settle himself down.
Well, Brian Flores sped him up too, right?
Sure.
60%. I think it was like 60% in the second half they blitzed.
Right.
So they're challenging, how fast that they can process all this information coming at them.
And that's an excellent point. They were going up against a very good football team. Now, that football team was begging to be beat on Monday night, but they were more so begging to be beat because you had a rookie quarterback who didn't find himself into the fourth quarter, and the Bears just didn't do enough to put the game out of reach. But I do think that when you have guys like Kurt come out and watch the tape and say what he said, and underline this is a plus play, and okay, fine, here's a minus here. I thought that how long until it's impossible for everybody to take a deep breath and just sort of let this thing unfold. I get it, but I thought when you think about a realistic time frame to when we can actually stop and have a fair evaluation of how is the partnership going with Caleb and Ben and just the whole thing moving forward. To me, good old Dan Wiederer now at The Athletic made a good point yesterday, or just a fair timeline. Like he said, at week 9 you can look at it, which to me makes sense. You have 4 weeks going on right now. This is going to be like drinking from a fire hose. Start of the season. You played Monday night. You're going up against the Lions on the road. This is a tough game on Sunday. Nobody's expecting the Bears to win. Maybe they'll shock us. Then you're home with Dallas. Everyone's pointing at that like that's the game that you got to get going up against your former head coach and all of it. So that's a full week to prepare. That third game, if you don't win that game, now it's starting to get really dicey. But the point is that whatever happens, you go into the bye, you reset, you come out of the bye, and you give them another 4 games. Where are we at? And now at that point, it's now you're week 9, week 10. It's mid-season. Then I think on this show we can sit and take a very fair where is it, and speak honestly about it. I don't expect the Bears they would be completely foolish to have any rush to do anything other than work on the pairing between the quarterback and the coach for the first half of the season, and then you can take a breath. But you have invested your life in Caleb. We can't, and we're going to live it day by day, but a realistic way to do this, if we could, is let's just sit back, let the first half of the season unfold. Let's let the first 4 games unfold. Let's all go to Braggs' cul-de-sac during the bye week and go swimming, even if it's cold outside, and then watch the next 4, and then we can really talk about what's going on.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not how it's going to go, but I think that's the most fair way to do it.
I agree with everything you said, but ultimately that's why it is important that they win some of these games, because they should have won week 1. You can say all of this stuff and whatever makes you feel better in terms of different people breaking down Caleb's performance and, hey, it wasn't all that bad, and look at this, and they were going up against a tough team. But the margin of error is different when you lose versus when you win. And so that's going to be the key here going forward, and it's a tough schedule, and we knew this coming into the season. So when you talk about, let's get to week 9, and you keep referencing the Lions starting 0-7 or whatever, right? The $1 million question is where's Ben's patience, not just with the development of the offense in Caleb Williams, but where's his patience with the win-loss category? And can the Bears find a way to start winning games? Because if you're 0-2 on Sunday, let's hope not, or 0-3, they start adding up, then that changes, I think, the perspective of everything you're laying out.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that Ben Johnson believes in himself that I am a legitimate, if not bona fide, elite head football coach in the NFL? Do you think he knows that deep in his bones?
Absolutely.
Like, no matter what anybody else thinks out there, I know this. Because, as somebody who perhaps is an elite podcaster and some people think that I'm not, I know that. As crazy as it may be to you, Pizzatola, so I could sit in the noise that comes at me at times that's uncomfortable. He's going to have a lot of noise. Caleb's going to have the most noise coming at him, but Ben's going to get a ton too. The media already were attacking Ben some after week 1, which I was actually surprised by. And he didn't have a great game. But some people are pointing, "Hey, head coach, how come you challenged a play where it cost you a timeout that there was no way you were going to win? How come you didn't kick it out of bounds?" All the things. So, this is a long way of saying it, but he should not be necessarily in a rush to prove himself to the league, because he should know that he has a long-term contract, and there is no way that by the end of that contract, everyone in the damn NFL is not going to know how elite he is. So, yes, it'd be way better to be winning games, but if he has to sit through a tough half of a season to get this organization, to get the quarterback going where he wants it to go, he should be willing to do that, is my point, and feel the confidence to do that.
And I'm not fighting anything you just said there, so I'm not trying to do this tennis match. But and I know we got some clips to get to, audio as well from Caleb speaking as well.
We're probably going to do that later.
I will also say that while all that being said, he's got to make sure that the rest of the locker room is bought in, is on board with this patience and process situation.
They're not. There's no way they are. Right. They all want to win now.
Well, he's in charge of those guys too, and so he's got to make sure.
Very, very tough.
That's why they needed to win on Monday. It's why they.
Well, but that's right. That is exactly right. That's why Monday's loss was so terrible, because it would have calmed the locker room down, and not that saying the locker room is in some chaos or whatever, but everybody would have felt good.
The pressure just rises every loss you get.
Right, you can see it. Like last year, the 10-game stretch, it had to have an enormous impact across the locker room, and especially on the rookies that were just experiencing it for the first time, mainly the quarterback, which is why when you beat Green Bay at the end of the year, despite the fact that I thought it would have been better if they lose that game for draft position, and then you maybe would have gotten the offensive lineman you wanted, regardless of any of that, you could see how much it meant to the Bears to win that game, because it was a big relief, and you get to go in the offseason off beating the Packers, which was obviously sweet for Caleb, and a bunch of guys in there, I'm sure, felt just a little bit better going into the offseason. But now, when you lose a game when you're up by 11 starting the fourth quarter and you're kicking a field goal to put you up 14 and the game feels in the bag and you lose it, you are right back into it. You are now back into it. We've won one of our last 11 games. Mm-hmm. And there is the weight of all of that is on the team, but a ton of it is on the quarterback, and he's going to have to handle this, and it's not going to be easy. Because it's the amount of noise is just going to keep coming, and I just, on some level, he's got the greatest job in the world. He's the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. He makes a ton of money and has all the spotlight and all the things, and his bank account is forever good, and these are great things. But I also, on some level, hey man, it is a lot. It is not an easy. It's not an easy gig that he's in right now. I'm sure we all would sign up for it 10 times over and would give up years upon years on our lives to be the quarterback of the Bears. But it ain't an easy gig.
Right.
It is not an easy gig.
No, it is not.
You got insane people, 11 of them on the other side of the field trying to kill you, and then you got to step into the press conference, and there's Adam Hoge asking you questions.
Right.
I mean,
that's a lot of pressure.
Hoge can come tough. All right, let's get you ready for Adam Jahns next. Johnsy is going to join us from Halas. There's a ton to cover here, so let's do that now. But first, shout out to our friends at Bet365, the early payout offer when the Bears go up 17 on the Lions on Monday and Caleb throws 3 touchdown passes in the first quarter. Sunday. What did I say?
Monday.
Did I say Monday? I meant Sunday. Thank you very much. But when you go up by 17 points with the instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections, you get paid out early. You already have cashed even before the halftime buzzer is going off. Download the app and use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. And breaking news from Bet365, new customers, you get $300 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. You sign up, you use the code CHGO365, you deposit $10. And when you place a bet for $5, that's it. You get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. $300 to play with is sweet. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, or more, whatever the moment. Never ordinary at Bet365. You do have to be 21 or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral service can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only.
That's right. And let's be real for a second, Mark.
Are you dying?
I am not, but
great.
If the Bears don't win this Sunday, I might. But let's be real for a second. The Packers have gone soft.
Yeah.
They think they're going to get a trophy for, winning the Super Bowl week 1. Sorry, you're not going to get one. Soda, and this is the whole thing with RC Cola. Soda used to have some kick. Now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz, but RC Cola is not a soft drink, just a damn good cola.
Damn good.
It's the original cola that doesn't fold under pressure. RC is an OG cola in a world of spineless soft drinks. So do yourself a favor, grab some RC at your local store, stock up on all your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, or just watching the game. RC is the move for whatever you're doing, so make sure you grab yourself an RC.
Okay, Gregory. RC. Thank you very much. Delicious.
Yeah.
You
got tougher. You got tougher.
I did.
From taking that little swig there.
I've just been, I was in the gym yesterday and on the tennis court, now drinking my RC and hanging out with you. I've gotten super tough. But the toughest guy that I know outside of you, pal, is our guy battling his way. Look at him. Let's bring in Adam Jahns from Halas Hall.
Thought that was Trapillo.
Is he on the team? Is Ozzy Trapillo still on the team?
We got our own Ozzy Trapillo on our team.
That's not nice to Ozzy Trapillo, Carm. Don't do that. What's up, Johnsy? How are you?
What's up, fellas? Sorry I'm a little bit late. I just got back from practice. They were on fields 3 and 4, so a little bit of walk back for me.
Well,
we know that typically you take the golf cart all around the campus at Halas Hall. So.
Hey, I'm big time, Braggs. I'm big time.
Yeah.
Not
so
this time, though.
Big of you to walk it this time. Very humble of you.
The players got the carts this time. It's okay.
Well, that's messed up. Johns deserves his own card and should have his name on it, the whole thing. But all right, here, let's jump into it. This was Special Teams Day, and Richard Hightower was up there, and obviously a lot of questions directed at him about Cairo and everything else that's going on special teams-wise. So what stood out from the special teams coach?
That the whole operation on his 50-yard miss was just off. It wasn't good enough. So from the snap to the hold to the kick itself, not good enough. It was off from the start to the very end. So that's not a good sign. I think the most interesting conversation here, fellas, is that the Bears, they've always been very patient with Cairo Santos, probably more so than other teams have been with their kickers. Who was it? Just Jake Moody the other day got cut by the 49ers, correct? So the Bears, I think since that awful kicking competition, have been very patient with their kickers. But here we are again talking about something with Cairo Santos where you wonder how patient the Bears are going to be. Now, it's just one game. It's just one miss, albeit a big miss. But I think this returns to become part of the conversation.
Wait, do you think there's a world in which Cairo is that they punt on the contract they sign him? I mean,
No. I think there's different ways you can motivate a kicker, even veterans. You could bring in certain guys for workouts, notable names for workouts. We've seen changes happen before, and I think we're all kind of scarred by recent history, not so recent history. If you go back to 2018 when there were some warning signs that things weren't clicking, and it's just a matter of how soon you act. So I may be raising some alarm bells, maybe too soon, but it's always interesting to watch different teams' patient levels with kickers when they start to struggle.
Just for the record, Cairo is signed through 2027. That was a 4-year deal they extended him on, worth $16 million. $9.5 of it was guaranteed. So that would not be a great moment in the history of Ryan Poles and kickers. But again, if they got to do it, they got to do it. Okay, Gregory, go ahead.
I mean, Hightower's our guy, right? He's told us he watches the show, interacting with him in different places. Like, he's a great dude. So I say this with love, Richard, if you're watching, but, I ask this with love if you're watching, Richard. And that is to you, Jahns. Like, how much accountability did Coach Hightower take on the abysmal performance by the special teams across the board? It wasn't just Cairo. They had a block punt. Devin Duvernay I felt like he almost fumbled it twice. Some of his return decisions were all over the place. The punt coverage, the kick coverage, the decision at the end to, not get the touchback, and however all that went. The special teams across the board was just a complete mess from front to back. And I just am curious how much of accountability Richard took towards that from Monday night.
Oh, he definitely took responsibility. I think he's usually good with it. I think probably the most interesting conversation probably pertains to the decision to kick it out of the back of the end zone at the end, which I believe Richard Hightower said he didn't get a good flush kick on it. It wasn't the perfect kick for Cairo Santos when you would want it to be. But just to hear how that was discussed amongst Ben Johnson and his staff and how different ideas were thrown around, what was a bit interesting. But yeah, to your point, look, I think Richard Hightower does a great job of taking accountability when things go wrong. I did sense that he was a bit annoyed to not just be talking to us, but there's a lot of things he had to discuss with us. Usually when you have these long, press conferences with the special teams coordinator, it's because a lot of bad things happen, and a lot of bad things did happen against the Vikings in week 1. You had the missed field goal. You had Cairo Santos failing to kick it out of the back of the end zone at the very end, and you hit the block by Torrey Taylor, not to mention a bunch of different coverage problems. So I think he's probably feeling it a bit this week, as he should, going into week 2 after all the problems that happened against the Vikings.
Yeah, Ben Johnson's probably looking, hey, dude, I was told to keep you. Sir, I need something more from you, Richard. I know. Richard's also been incredibly complimentary to Ben, and I'm sure Ben appreciates that he has Richard Hightower. Richard Hightower's, I don't know, number 298 on the Bears' problems right now, if you want to put him even on the list. But let's move on to the linebacking situation and more specifically Noah Sewell's performance in Game 1. I know Richard Smith, the linebackers coach, was speaking today. What do you have to say about Noah?
He had an outstanding game if you look back at it. Yeah, I think he was in coverage. He was beat by Aaron Jones in that touchdown, but Aaron Jones beats a lot of guys on touchdowns. It's what he does. It's probably not the matchup you want there, but Noah Sewell.
It was a great play draw. Really was.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing got Jaquan Brisker out of there just in terms of being the help over the top. So great play call, like you said, Braggs, about from Kevin O'Connell. So he led the team in tackles, Noah Sewell. He had 9 tackles, a team high 9 tackles against the Vikings. I thought he was flying around. So to hear his position coach praise him really extensively just for being able to learn all 3 linebacker spots and to have a game like that, that was a major step in the right direction for a draft pick that we all wrote off coming into the season. So to see him get that opportunity and kind of flourish, at least for the first 3 quarters in it, that was Noah Sewell's best game thus far in his Bears tenure. So to have him to be your top backup behind TJ Edwards, behind Tremaine Edmonds, and be that starter strong side, like I think the Bears have something here in Sewell. At least that's the confidence I felt from his position coach.
Well, he certainly was one of the question marks coming into the season, like how would he respond to the opportunity? And it looked like from 1 week, all the rave reviews we got about Noah through camp translated to week 1. Now, the guy we had a lot of questions about was Dayo Odeyingbo, and he showed up in a big way. I know you had a chance to talk to the D-line coach, so I'm just curious what he had to say, because I think Bears fans, had to eat some crow on some too early takes on writing a guy off before he'd even played a game in a Bears uniform.
Now, I will say this. Let's see what he does against the Lions, where he's not playing against a backup left tackle. Maybe we're having a different conversation if Christian Darrisaw did play for the Vikings. Now, that said, we took note of Dayo Odeyingbo throughout that game. He was outstanding. He was one of the Bears' best defensive players. And we're saying this after he had a very quiet offseason, a very quiet training camp, I should say. So he was one of the Bears' best players on the field, especially defensively. His position coach, Jeremy Garrett, says a lot of that has to do with how all the guys were playing up front. But more specifically, he's bringing so much flexibility to that defensive line. And I think you saw some of that against the Vikings. And I think we're just starting to see what he can do in this defense when he gets the right matchups, when he's part of that 4-man rush. So I think the Bears should feel good about what they got out of Dayo Odeyingbo, who they gave a very good contract, and especially for his first game as a Bear. But let's see going forward how much this continues. I want to say it was last year. It was who was the pass rusher they signed or they traded for from the Seahawks?
Taylor.
He had a great game in like week 2, and that was it. It was it. So let's see if this continues for Odeyingbo, with expectations being a bit higher since he got that big contract in the offseason.
I said last year when they made the Taylor trade, I think it was for a 6th-round pick, and he comes in, he gets I think he had
week one.
He had 1.5 sacks or 1 sack in week 1. I was like, this is the greatest trade in Bears history. It's already paid off in week 1. We gave up a 6th-rounder, he's impacting, and it still was because of that one play, I suppose, of winning, and then we never saw him again. And then he got weird in the locker room, and now I don't know if he's in the NFL. But hopefully we'll get more Dayo. But I did see some people pushing back at us. You said that Dayo wasn't good in training camp. He wasn't. It was a little bit of an invisible Dayo. So to Johnsy's point, like hey, I'm sure it put a huge smile on the face of Ryan Poles, but long season. Let's see if he can have an impact this Sunday to keep it going against Detroit. Nick McLeod was talked about by some Bears fans might not know who Cannon Matthews is, but that's the nickelback coach, and he was underlining the performance of McLeod. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and guys, I think they're going to need Nick McLeod again this weekend against the Lions and all the good things they do with St. Brown over the middle of the field. So McLeod, he won over the Bears coaching staff for his ability to play inside and outside. If you notice when Nahshon Wright went down with an injury briefly in that game against the Vikings, it was Nick McLeod who came in as the top reserve. So they like his flexibility. They like how he knows the playbook. And that doesn't sound like much. Every player should know the playbook, but certain guys stand out just in terms of their study habits, and Nick McLeod happens to be one of those players. So he's your top backup right now at nickelback. I think they're going to need him again against the Lions, depending on Kyler Gordon's status. I think there's a better chance that TJ Edwards returns as opposed to Kyler Gordon. So we'll see what happens, but it's nice to have veteran reserves that you feel confident about in terms of handling different positions, and that's what Nick McLeod is doing right now for the Bears.
Well, it sounds like Jaylon's going to play too, right? If you had to bet on
that?
Yes,
yeah. If I had to give like optimism ratings, I would say it's definitely higher for 53, TJ Edwards, and number 1, Jaylon Johnson. But until we see more and the Bears see more out of Kyler Gordon in terms of getting on the practice field, I think that's to be determined as far as his status.
Well, that irritates me because I want him out there. But I am excited to have Jaylon Johnson return because this is a big game, Jahns. I know a lot of fans and pundits, whatever, don't have high expectations for the Bears to beat the Lions on Sunday. But, until the Lions show, that they've kind of changed or turned a corner with this new coaching staff, they're vulnerable. It is at their house. So I'm just curious your perspective as we're, moving towards Detroit here in a big matchup to see if the Bears can make up for, blowing the game week 1.
I was texting with a scouting buddy this morning, and he was very confident in terms of the matchups between coordinators. So specifically right now, Ben Johnson versus Kelvin Shepard, the Lions' new defensive coordinator. So if you're going to take really any optimistic look at this, it's Ben Johnson being able to really beat an inexperienced defensive coordinator. Now, I get that they have a bunch of talent. I get that their front is very, very good, and Aiden Hutchinson is an absolutely fantastic football player. But you should have confidence in your head coach, your play caller, in being able to design some things, just like he did in week 1 against a very good defensive play caller in Brian Flores, and take those matchups into week 2 on the road against the Lions and being able to take advantage of those. I think a lot of that comes down to Caleb Williams being the one who takes advantage of those. But if you're going to trust anything going into this game, just from talking to some friends around the league, it's what Ben Johnson can do against the Lions' inexperienced defensive coordinator.
It's interesting, Johnsy. I know you're.
And then on the other side, right? You got Morton versus Dennis Allen too. Yeah. And I feel like Dennis Allen has the advantage there.
Damn right he does.
And then also when you think about it, in terms of the familiarity between Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson, like Ben knows everything about the Lions on both sides of the ball. having, been with this team for the last 3 years, gone through training camps, faced the defense, coached the offense. Whereas, they know Ben Johnson and his personal tendencies, but they don't know this iteration of Ben Johnson with this personnel. So I think from that standpoint, there's an advantage as well.
And to your scheme question about Dennis Allen versus John Morton, I think you're trying to figure out how much he's going to separate himself. This is John Morton from what Ben Johnson did so well. He's got the same pieces. He's got the same quarterback. He's got the same weaponry across the board in Detroit, but he's not the same play caller. He's a different human being with different experiences, with different things he wants to do. So Dennis Allen himself talked about that today, just in terms of trying to figure out where that separation occurs. You don't really see that in the preseason. You didn't really see that much in week one. So you're trying to figure out his tendencies and where they separate from what Ben Johnson did tendency-wise when he was the play caller in Detroit.
Did you hear the Detroit beat guy asking Dan Campbell about why don't you just call the plays that Ben called last year? And did you hear Dan Campbell's response or how irritated he was by that?
Yeah, I know he was irritated. What did he exactly say, though?
So he was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, why don't you just, run the plays that Ben ran last year? He's like, how is it any different? He's like, well, there was more motions last year. And he was like, you don't think we motioned last week? Is that what you're telling me? And it was just like the line of questioning was just he went down a wormhole and Dan Campbell was not having it. So it was just, I found that really interesting that the Detroit beat was already kind of getting at Dan about just do it the way Ben was doing it last year. It made for an uncomfortable moment for a minute. Dan wasn't backing down.
And I imagine this whole week is full of conversations like that, at least between the media and the respective coaches involved, the respective players involved. There was a Detroit media member who came to Halas Hall yesterday who asked Ben Johnson about Detroit fans and how I think he's going to be received, or whether or not he took their feelings into consideration in his decision to become the head coach of the Bears, which is one thing, I guess, to discuss heading into this game.
Okay, sorry, I had to get in my phone there for a second. But you got to putting out fires and hosting the show all at the same time here, like the champion that I am. Hey, Johnsy, are you a contrarian guy when it comes to gambling or no?
What do you mean?
Well, the line started just at the beginning of the week. The Bears were a 4.5-point underdog. The line now has moved to they are a 6.5-point underdog. So that's a 2-point move in a couple of days here. Mm-hmm. So people are betting up the Detroit Lions in a big-time way that the line has moved 2 points. So I like to be contrarian in general when it comes to gambling because the public is always wrong. If you're looking for reasons for optimism, I would point to the gambling line is moving heavy towards Detroit here. So for whatever that's worth, just throwing that in the old pot here.
Well, I would bet on the Bears in terms of keeping this close. They're going to be competitive. I think they're going to be competitive every single game they play this year. To me, Carman, it's whether or not they make those handful of plays that you need to be the winner in these games. This should be a close game. Ben Johnson knows the Lions, and they know him a little bit. But in terms of getting those 2, 3, 4 plays that you need to come out on top of these, I'm not sure the Bears are going to get them yet consistently from their offensive playmakers. Maybe you need some type of spark on defense, but I would bet on the Bears in terms of keeping this close. I'd bet on them keeping most games close this season, every week.
What would you say you're most confident will change
This will be the last question.
This Sunday? Is it the run game improving? Kyle Monangai getting involved? Is it the penalties will be cut in half or eliminated? Or is it that Caleb Williams will slow it down a little bit with his footwork and have a little more cleaner operation and maybe a little better accuracy? Of those three, which one do you have the most confidence in that will change this Sunday?
Bragg, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I would say when it comes to the pre-snap penalties, I think you see a decrease, and maybe you just get one this week. It's kind of crazy to say, but I do think the silent cadence may help them a bit. They're just going to be operating one way. They won't be able to hear each other communicate anyway. So to have that as a factor, maybe you won't get any pre-snap penalties, maybe one false start. So I would say that above anything else, just because of the circumstances of being on the road in Detroit.
Johnsy, great stuff. I highly recommend when you get off with us right now is just, click on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel because Hoge's about to do his whiteboard. And there is no better opportunity for the next 10 minutes of your life than to watch Hoge in his basement on whiteboard number 2. So I know you'll be there. I know you didn't even need me to tell you that, but I just wanted to remind you.
So I could turn around in my cubicle at Halas Hall and kind of like poke fun at him as he's going through his whiteboard in his basement. Okay,
yes.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
we call it Whiteboard Wasted. That's the name of the segment.
Whiteboard Wasted. It's coming up. All right, Johns, you have fun.
It's a working title.
Travel safe. Tell us about a win on Sunday. You can do this.
All right, fellas. We'll see you soon.
All right. Hoge and Jahns, by the way, of course, tomorrow previewing the Lions. Donnie, the GOAT of all GOATs. What happened to Carman Sense? Don't you worry about that, Donnie. Don't worry. Carman Sense is coming back.
Yeah,
it is.
Sure.
Damn right it is.
You start making some sense around here.
Oh. All right.
There.
Wasted whiteboard, what'd you call it?
Whiteboard Wasted.
Whiteboard Wasted. It is coming up in 2, but first. This episode of CHGO Bears is being brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. And let me tell you something. Don't miss out on any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right, and it is good to be paying attention to the Commanders and the Packers tonight via Prize Picks. All you got to do is more or less. Right now, Josh Jacobs, Green Bay, running back, 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns, more or less. Do you think he's getting in the end zone? Do you not think he's going to get in the end zone? What do you think about Jaden Danielson? Passing yards, 228.5, more or less. When you're feeling hot, now move over to Jordan Love, 229.5, more or less. Use your football expertise and get yourself some extra dollars. Prize Picks, simple to play, more or less on 2 to 6 player stats. I just gave you 3. If your picks are right, you could cash in. And by the way, yes, it's available in 40-plus states. If you're watching wherever, California, Texas, Georgia, all over the place, you can have fun with our friends at Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today, use the code CHGO, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup.
That's right. And got to give a shout-out to our friends over at Mack Weldon.
Ooh, you look good.
From the gym to work, to a night out on summer adventures, you want clothes that feel comfortable anywhere, and Mack Weldon has breathable clothes that keep you cool, comfortable, and stylish, and it's perfect for the summer. It's going to be perfect for the fall. You want to get it. Their new tech linen line combines the easy charm of classic linen with Cool Max technology. Sounds like something I need for the golf course. So get breathable clothes you can feel comfortable in all summer and this fall. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off your first order or $125 or more with promo code CHGO20. That's MackWeldon.com. Promo code CHGO20.
Can't wait for you to get some Mack Weldon, start looking better than you look right now. Although I do like that t-shirt, by the way, because,
Thank you.
MJ. All right. The amount of love for Adam Hoge and his whiteboard wasted debut.
He probably doesn't want it called that, but we've been calling it that.
No, he does it at 9 in the morning, and if at best he's had coffee. Yeah. We do everything on this show.
Do we have a name for this segment yet, Steven? Or is
right now it's just Hoge's whiteboard.
Wasted.
Yeah.
Then fine. You don't want to name the segment, then I'm
that.
naming the segment.
Well, whatever it is called, and we'll figure out a better name at some point. Adam Hoge is doing a great job getting you ready for the game, and he's looking at the Lions, and he's looking at the Bears, he's looking at the matchup. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Hoge at home, being filmed, breaking it all down in the way that only an Adam Hoge can.
We're on to week 2, and it's time to whiteboard the Detroit Lions. Ben Johnson's return to Ford Field in Detroit, noon Central start. I'm not going to talk too much about gambling in these, but the Lions are now a 6-point favorite. It moved from 4.5. All right, a year ago, My lock of the entire year before the season even started was that the Bears would cover a 4-point spread in Detroit on Thanksgiving. By the time that game came around, I don't even remember what it was, but it was way higher because the Lions went on to win 15 games. The Bears were in the middle of a 10-game losing streak. Their head coach got fired right after the game. And despite all that, the Bears still covered that 4-point spread in that game. So the point is, if the Lions got worse, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, and the Bears got better, I don't understand why this is 6 points. That seems too high to me. Regardless, we'll move on. Lions started 0-1 just like the Bears. Both of these teams need a victory this Sunday. Lions losing 27-13 in a game that really wasn't that close at Lambeau Field last week. They did not score a touchdown until the final minute of the game. So a lot of concerns about the Lions offense right now. 2 new coordinators, we're going to talk about that. And just like the Bears, they had to remake the interior of their offensive line, but for different reasons, which is important. Head coach Dan Campbell going into year 5, 39-29-1, and the 2 new coordinators. John Morton comes in from Denver, where he was the passing game coordinator. It's his first year, but he was on Detroit's staff in 2022 when Ben Johnson put in this offense. So he is familiar with it. That's important. Here's the thing, though, about Morton, who's been in the league for a long time, been a coach for a long time, doesn't have a whole lot of play calling experience. Last time he was an offensive coordinator was in 2017 with the New York Jets. It's the only time he's been an OC in the NFL, and he got fired. Before that, his only other offensive coordinator job was with USC back when Pete Carroll was the head coach. So there's a little bit of a lack of experience in calling plays, which could be a theme here for the Lions early on in the season. Kelvin Shepard's their DC. It's his first year because Aaron Glenn moved on to New York, but he's been on staff. This is his first year. He's been there as long as Dan Campbell's been there, so he got promoted from within. First time being a DC, but he knows the defense really well. Dave Phipps, the special teams coordinator, 5th year, longtime Eagles special teams coordinator. Before that, he knows what he's doing. Your special teams note of the week, punter Jack Fox, 46.2 net last year. That was an NFL record. Bears special teams were a big problem last week. Lions probably have an advantage this week when it comes to special teams. All right, in terms of new players on the Lions, DJ Reed was their big offseason acquisition. In terms of free agency, they added Roy Lopez for depth on the defensive line, Avonte Maddox in the secondary as well. But really, other than Reed, it's their draft picks that matter here. Tyleek Williams starting at defensive tackle, first-round pick. Tate Ratledge starting at right guard, second-round pick. And Isaac Teslaw, third-round pick, who scored a touchdown last week. Still not really considered a starter, but when they go to 4 wide receivers, you're going to see Teslaw on the field. And honestly, they should probably work him in a little bit more this week than he played last week because he scored. Otherwise, who they lost, and this is the big story. They lose Carlton Davis in their secondary. Zadarius Smith. Kevin Zeitler, though, right guard, moves on to Tennessee, and Frank Ragnow, who retired. That's why the interior of this offensive line is different. So whereas the Bears beefed up the interior of the offensive line, the Vikings did the same thing. This remade interior offensive line is really just out of necessity because of the guys they lost. And it was a problem last week in Green Bay. This week I'm going to start with the Detroit offense versus the Bears defense. I think this is honestly the more interesting matchup. So let's go back to John Morton. What was his Lions offense going to look like without Ben Johnson? Were they going to radically change the scheme? No. A lot of the personnel's all the same? Yes, especially the weapons. But I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of an identity crisis early on in the season. So last week was bad. Their expected points added per play, 22nd in the league. This offense was first under Ben Johnson the last 3 years. So that's a huge drop back. Yes, small sample size, 1 week, but this is an offense that's used to being the best in the league, 22nd last week. Morton's known for being more of a drop back guy, so that creates some fair questions about how much motion are they going to use. Well, last week, 30th in the entire league. They were 28th in motion EPA when they did go to motion. And play action, that we know that Ben Johnson ran a lot of play action. He's doing it here with the Bears now. They were 14% play action last week. Again, it's one game, but that was 26 in the league. However, when they did run play action, we know Jared Goff could do it. They were 8th. So they had success when they did it. They just didn't do it a lot. So this is a big departure. Again, 1 week, small sample size, but from what the Lions have been, we got to watch that. Meanwhile, the Bears defense last week, as much as we talk about Dennis Allen blitzing, he only did it 23% of the time in that game against the Vikings. That was 23rd in the league. The Bears were first in pressure rate, though. 50% of the time they created some pressure. The problem is their EPA, when they created pressure, was 21st. So they were creating pressure, but it wasn't necessarily resulting in negative plays against the Vikings. So I think that goes back to the idea of finishing. They didn't finish the game. They didn't finish a lot of those reps either. Overall, though, Bears defense played pretty well. Their EPA per play was 8th in the league last week. In terms of what we want to look at matchup-wise, I'm focused on the interior of this offensive line, okay? Grady Jarrett on the injury report with a knee injury. That's concerning. Jaylon Johnson, does he come back this week? It seems like he might. TJ Edwards trending up. Kyler Gordon still a big question mark. But on this interior of the offensive line, these guys struggle. Graham Glasgow moved from guard to center. Ratledge and Mahogany are new players here on the interior. They didn't play that well against the Packers. So can Javon Dexter, Grady Jarrett, Andrew Billings, all these guys on the interior, if they win this matchup, Lions struggled to run the ball last week. I think the Bears could have an advantage here, whereas I don't know that it was necessarily an advantage against the new-look Vikings offensive line last week. This is a big issue. The Lions are known for having a good offensive line, but so far, I think it's a big question mark. We move to the other side of the ball. Bears offense versus Detroit's defense. Bears last week, we've talked a lot about it, right? EPA per play, they were 20th. Wasn't overall that great. One good sign, however, this is a league of explosives. And the Bears did have explosives 9% of the time. That was good for 14th, league average. But that's way better than last year. So explosive percentage plays could be up. Motion-wise, 50% of the time they use motion. You would think it would probably actually be more than that. That was only 20th. I think that's an indictment of how much motion is being used in the league these days. Play action percentage, they did it about 23% of the time. That was 16th in the league last week. Again, these are all just 1 week sample sizes. Under center half the time, that was third most. So keep that in mind. Bears going under center a lot. How does Caleb Williams handle it? Still a question mark. And they were in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends 39% of the time. That was 5th in the league. So those are numbers we expected. More under center, more 12 personnel, but the Bears need to get more success out of that. Lions defense, as much as they're getting talked about their offense struggling without Ben Johnson last week, the defense was bad last week. 29th in EPA per play. They gave up explosive plays 14% of the time, almost 15% of the time. That was 29th in the league. So there could be opportunities here for the Bears to continue to get explosive plays against this Lions defense. Kelvin Shepard, honestly, locally in Detroit, probably under as much fire as John Morton in the first week of the season, and he probably should be. They were 30th against the pass last week, 18th against the run, so they're a little bit better stopping the run than they were stopping the pass. That's important because the Bears got to get the run game going. In terms of the matchup I'm watching over here, Rome Odunze brought this up yesterday when he talked to the media. He's going up against Arnold, the second-year corner. And Arnold was dealing with a groin injury, so is he 100%? He was full go on the injury report yesterday, so he's expected to play and all that. But Rome Odunze, good first week, fantasy-wise too. See if the Bears can keep that Caleb Williams to Rome Odunze connection going. Otherwise, other injuries, Jack Campbell, he did not practice yesterday with an ankle. We need to watch that one. Otherwise, much healthier on this side of the ball. Do wonder about DJ Moore. I don't have him circled in red because he was full go in practice, but he did have that big hit against them, and he was listed with an abdomen and groin injury on the injury report, but full go. So he should be fine. Just maybe keep an eye on him in the game. There's your whiteboard look at the Detroit Lions in week 2. And again, shout out to my wife. It is her birthday. Happy birthday, Krista. And she does a great job.
Happy birthday, Krista, indeed. Yeah, Hoge. We got a ton to say about that. But first, we got to take 2. Shout out to our friends at Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, what are you doing? It's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts,
Nope.
No monthly bills,
Nope.
No overages,
Nope.
Hidden fees,
Nope.
BS. That's right. That's why I said yes to making the switch. Premium wireless, $15 a month. How sweet is that? Look, it's the 5G network. You're going to hear, you're going to text. It's going to be beautiful. You will be so thrilled you did this. Ready to say yes to saying no. make the switch to mintmobile.com/CHGO. That's mintmobile.com/CHGO. Upfront payment of $45 is required, so that's $15 a month for 3 months. Limited time, new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 GB on the unlimited plan. You're still rolling smooth. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
That's right. I want to give a shout out to our favorite ticket app, and that's the Game Time app. Listen, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. I always use the Game Time app right before I get to the game, whether it's kickoff, first pitch at Wrigley. Last-minute tickets are always the lowest price guaranteed with the Game Time app. And when you go onto their app, they have the hottest deals, the cheapest deals. They give you an aerial view of exactly what seat you're looking for. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
All right, whiteboard number 2 is in the books. I did, everyone noticed that Hoge's coloring was slightly off there, and we're not going to blame Krista or Hoge or anybody. These things happen, and Hoge's already in the chat.
It's a video setting. We are Hoge and I have been texting each other. We have the fix.
It's a video.
We know what to do.
I mean, look at the adjustments that CHGO makes just on the fly, because when we post that again in a separate form, if you missed it, it'll be perfect. You'll see Hoge in crystal clear mansion lighting. Damn it.
Yep.
Anything that stood out to you from the whiteboard, or did you?
I just think that I like why DJ was, listed as a wide receiver when he's a running back.
Yeah, no, that was interesting.
And then also when he said,
I bet Kyle Monunga gets a lot more carries.
The way
this
he
week.
said Tesla. How did
Tesla?
That's how you say it.
Tesla.
Tesla.
Yeah, but at this point, I think it's better for his brand if he just says Tesla, right? It's just because it's more synonymous. Everybody knows Tesla, So I don't know.
Tesla. Don't listen to Braggs and continue to do that segment, despite the fact that was the takeaway.
It was surprise. I get it. Tesla is the right way, but it just feels like it.
It has 2 A's at the end of it.
Yeah, just Tesla. Just make it easy on everybody.
Carm, what else do we have?
So those were my 2 thoughts. You asked me for my thoughts. I gave you my thoughts.
I liked what. That wasn't great. And look, I liked how he got. I like how he got into Caleb under center, and how we're moving towards, I believe it was league average. Just the underlining of how the Bears are going about their business was another great job. But I honestly, my number one thing was when he went into the Lions punter and he started underlining Jack Fox. So I had to go into Karmapedia and check out Jack Fox, because people just don't give punters enough respect. And as Hoge is taking all this time, and Mr. Special Teams himself, did you know that? You don't even know about Jack Fox, do you?
I don't.
Not
only do I not know about Jack Fox, I don't care about Jack Fox.
Well, that's on you. He is an avid Yu-Gi-Oh player. Do you know what that is?
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh. Anybody?
I know what this is.
What's Yu-Gi-Oh?
When I was 10 years old, it was really popular. 32 for reference.
Is it a Pokemon?
It's like Pokemon. It's like a card game.
It's a card game. It's a collectible card game. This guy's the Lions punter is still going 10-year-old games, which I think is advantage Bears. And Fox referenced his childhood interest in Harry Potter, describing him as a Hufflepuff. He's a Hufflepuff. Does that make sense? You Potter people out there? Does anybody know what a Hufflepuff is? Yes. Thank you. See? Christopoulos from the corner. He's a Hufflepuff.
Braggs, look at his screen. Is this actually Wikipedia?
Yes.
You can't trust that.
Of course you can. They've never gotten anything wrong. He's a Hufflepuff.
I could change that right now.
But you wouldn't. But you didn't.
I could make a point. I'm going to start putting things on Wikipedia just preemptively, to get you.
I can always tell the difference. Karmapedia
Really good writer.
Yeah, never gets thing. And so
I think at this point right now, my two takes
Edge Bears.
My two takes from Whiteboard Wasted are
Better than Carl's take?
ahead of whatever you're doing right now.
No, you did Hufflepuff. I Hufflepuffed. So advantage Carb. All right, back to Halas Hall we go, and I want to hear from some locker room action, and yeah, we need Jaylon Johnson back on the field. Jaylon Johnson was talking today, so I think we need to hear from Jaylon Johnson. What's up, Jaylon?
I'll be good.
Good to go.
Yeah, that's what I say.
You think you think you will play this Sunday?
That's my thoughts. That's my anticipation.
What was the process, or how did you feel Monday? Just going through a workout, a little bit of running,
Felt good.
whatever you did.
Yeah, just a workout. For me, just going through the position drills, I felt good doing it.
So what was it that kept you out? What was it that maybe you felt pregame, or what was it that what was the decision that you couldn't play in the game?
I was never playing again.
You were never going to play in the game? Okay.
Did the calf injury pop up in practice last week, or was that all kind of part of the same thing?
Nah, that was just a little overcompensation from just trying to get my growing back right, just getting my body collectively together, and I just had some calf tightness.
Were you worried, like, oh no, I pushed it too hard?
Nah, I know my body. I know kind of when things are overcompensating and when things are kind of more fatigued versus the true strain per se, but I mean, test's gonna say what they're gonna say.
Jaylon, how do you weigh what you've seen from the Lions in past seasons when they've been one of the top offenses in the league versus down game for them in week one?
I mean, it's just one game. I say, I mean, they still got all the same guys for the most part, but I mean, they're a talented group, talented offense, experienced. I think this is going on their third year of really all their guys, so I mean, for me, it doesn't change too much. I mean, just because you have one down game or first week doesn't really mean too much.
How is it for you watching a game, specifically on Monday night with the crowd all jacked up like it was, and then the way the game went?
I mean, I would just say tough. I mean, in the beginning, it was somewhat easy because, I mean, we were up, of course, but when you get down, you start envisioning yourself making plays. You start wanting to get out there and try to help and contribute any way you can. So from that perspective, it gets tough. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we did and had every opportunity to win that game.
What was your reaction?
Fired up when they shot pick six there. When did you know that was going to be a touchdown?
Probably the first 10 yards.
They showed you on the side.
Yeah, I had the damn play call thing tangled up on my legs, so just trying to get out of that, but also still celebrate. But I mean, kind of when he threw it, knowing the coverage, knowing what route it was, kind of anticipated. I hope he didn't get caught by the quarterback.
Is that always going to be a play that favors the corner to be able to jump the route there on the speed it out?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I feel like a lot of people say jump it, but it's really just kind of reading, reacting in a way. Of course, seeing the quarterback, seeing the routes, being able to have a good feel. So it's really just making a good break, understanding what's going on, the defense that you're playing, and then being able to capitalize on it.
If my bad memory serves me correctly, I think your first game ever was up in Detroit, right? And did you break up the pass to win the game? Do you ever reminisce about that? Do you have good memories from Ford Field? Do you ever think about that?
Nah, I don't think about that. My first year, that's a long time ago, it seems like now. So for me, I just know I continue to show up when I go to Detroit throughout all the years. So I'm looking forward to continuing that.
Hey, Jaylon saying he knows his body. Jaylon saying he's ready to go. Jaylon with a little bit of Jaylon attitude. That makes me feel good about things.
Yeah,
Not as good as Hufflepuff, but he makes me feel good about things.
Yeah, it's frustrating because it feels like he was very close last week.
Yeah.
You know, and I think could have been the difference between a win or a loss if he had been out there last week.
I don't know, man. He had a pick six.
You had the pick six, but in the fourth quarter when they gave up 3 touchdowns, you were down to McLeod and Tyreek Stevenson. You didn't even have Nashawn, right? Because he got hurt at one point.
Okay,
you know?
I mean, sure, you can. I'm not gonna take it away from you, but corner play was not the main issue there. Although there, anytime you have Jaylon on the field, you're better off. So
absolutely,
that's right.
Well, and it gives you an opportunity to be more aggressive in how you blitz and.
Sure.
You know, so it's a trickle-down effect.
Sure. All right, we got one more clip coming out of Halas Hall today. I want to hear from the offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. So much going on with getting this offense off the ground. Curious where the Bears guru, maybe the smartest guy on the coaching staff. Declan, if you did an IQ off between Declan and Ben, I might take Declan. Who do you got, Declan or Ben?
Ben.
I don't hate that, but Declan's right there. Let's hear from Declan Doyle.
that's something that can never happen, and that really was the story of the game. You know, we would put ourselves in kind of efficient down and distance, and we would knock ourselves out. And I think on 3 separate occasions we end up knocking ourselves out, you know, taking points off the board in one case, and then twice, you know, we're not able to convert on third down because we're in second and longer or third and longer. I think they played hard, but that's an area that we still need to continue to get better every week. And, you know, I'm excited to see these guys go this week.
That's the key to eliminating that.
The key to eliminating that is emphasizing it and continuing to emphasize it. It's been something that we've worked since we've gotten here, but obviously it's not up to our standard right now. Our standard is championship standard. Is it going to be good enough to win the last game of the year? And that's not. And so that's something that's an issue that's addressed with the full group, and that's obviously got to get cleaned up.
Indeed, clean it on up. Hold that championship standard as we move into overtime. Become a diehard, everybody. Let's celebrate this season together as diehards with 2 free tailgate tickets as you become a member, and you can come out and have some RC, have some cocktails, meet Greg Braggs in person.
That's right.
And Hufflepuff, who I think we should make the official mascot of CHGO. Diehard, the new tailgate tier, $90 intro offer. That's 2 tickets and you're a diehard and you get a t-shirt. That is, in essence, we're paying you. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's a great way to support the show. And thank you for one and all who have done it. We appreciate all our diehards. See you in the Discord. All right. You ready for this, Gregory?
I'm ready for whatever you're ready for.
So it was a weird day yesterday as far as the schedule. Caleb was supposed to talk, and then he didn't talk, and then he was supposed to talk later, and then he didn't talk later, and then he ended up talking at 6:30. And I thought Caleb did an excellent job, just sort of just being a positive Caleb that he does in each of his press conferences. That he gets asked tougher and tougher questions, and he gives you a smile, and he says, yeah, and then like, why were you bad? Yeah, well, it's just not, it's not easy, but I figured that I could just give a little free advice on 2 parts where I want to be helpful here, just shooting it straight. So 2 cuts we're going to play from yesterday. One, he was asked about his part in the pre-snap penalties. So this was Caleb yesterday evening. Talked about 6:30, 6:45, whatever it was last night. This was Caleb on his part in the pre-snap penalties.
How would you describe your responsibility in the false start issues that popped up in the first half?
Yeah, I think some of it is obviously, it's on me being able, maybe say it louder in the huddle, or maybe not be as aggressive on, punching the gas on the cadence, or whatever the case may be. Whatever it is, we'll fix and we'll handle, and I'll handle on my end whatever I need to handle, and we'll be better, with that here coming up.
What is the 111 in handling that going forward to make sure that?
Yeah, like I said, it's either saying it louder in the huddle, recommunicating it, when we get to the line, or whatever the case may be, or things like that, small things like that, goes a long way.
Okay. The first time he said, say it louder in the huddle, like, my head kind of perked up, and then he said, then Weeder pushes him again, and he says it again. All he has to say, Caleb, all you got to say, what part of it? I'm the quarterback, it's on me. I'm the quarterback, it's on me. Pre-snap penalties, false starts, it's on me. I'm the leader. I got to get us. That's it. Done. Instead, when you do that, when you say, I got to say it louder, now you're kind of insinuating that guys didn't hear you, and if they had heard you, it would have been right. That opens up a whole can of worms you just don't want to even open up. I don't know how that lands with the offensive lineman. Dude, I heard you. And then you ran it, like, who knows what goes on there. All you got to say, it's on me. So do you have any, do you agree with me, Gregory, or no?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, any leader is just going to, even however things played out, and maybe there was a few times in the huddle he said something and it wasn't heard and somebody had a false start.
It's possible.
Right, but at the end of the day, it is always best to just be, all right, push all that aside. So I'll take the brunt.
Right.
But he also did do that by saying, like, I'm putting too much gas on the cadence. And, cadence has been a big point of conversation this week. And so I think that was him also saying, like, look, I got to be better about the way I deliver my cadence. So I think he was doing that, and I think he's, just trying to offer insight as well in terms of, the process of how these things kind of unfold in the huddle and why things can go right or wrong.
This, by the way, you're right, Travis McKnight. This is over-analysis of a presser in overtime on the show, which could be sponsored by numerous people, but hasn't yet to be sponsored, which I think has a great chance of being sponsored because nobody overanalyzes a presser like I do. But I would just say it's on me. And then this was interesting, too, on the run plays, which he was asked about because Ben was asked yesterday, how come Kyle Monangai didn't get any carries? And he said, because I didn't call enough run plays. So then here comes the media following up.
Dan said that he needed to call more run plays or needs to call more run plays. Might be a weird question to ask a quarterback who likes to throw the football, but does he need to call more run plays? Were you thinking the same thing?
Well, Ben said he needs to call more run plays. Coach Johnson said that he needs to call more run plays, and that's what, he needs to do. It's not a me thing. It's not a my decision. I think part of it is, I think we had in the first half, our run efficiency in the first half wasn't as good compared to our second half and how we picked it up. And I think that's what he's going off of in that situation. But other than that, if he said that he needs to call more, that's what, he needs to do. I know that as a quarterback, if we run the ball efficiently, it helps my job become not necessarily easier, but, opens up, more lanes and things like that for me, because now people, have to come up and the defenders have to come up and defend the run a little bit more heavily. And now allows us to take, maybe a few more shots or anything like that. So if that's what Ben said, and Coach Johnson said, that's what, that's what he feels he needs to do. That's what we need to do.
So my not requested, unsolicited carb advice here. I want to throw the ball every single play. I got a rocket arm and I'm ready to sling it. But I know we got to run it too. So I'm going to do whatever we do. I'm on Team Ben, and that's it, right? Doesn't he want to throw it every play? I would think he wants to throw it every play. I think all quarterbacks want to throw it every play. And it's a weird spot for him to be put in. But just dude, you got this. You're Caleb. You're the QB. You want to throw it, period.
The simple answer is yeah, of course, we want to establish a run this week. It helps everybody, including myself. Boom, that's it. But at the end of the day, and we all love Mark Grody. Love him. We're at the combine. We go to dinner with him, and he's never the type of guy that's going to have a question where he's trying to hang a player out to dry. So I don't think that was his intention. But the question itself, by saying like, "Hey, we talked to Ben," and he said,
this is an odd thing to ask a quarterback.
Said, you're right. Ben said we need to run more. This is an odd thing to ask, but do you think Ben should have ran more? And I think just from an instinct, like Caleb hasn't gone to dinner with Mark Grody. He doesn't know how sweet of a person he is.
So sweet.
And so he's just looking at it like, is this guy trying to get a quote out of me where I'm going to call up my head coach?
And that's my point. Don't be that's my whole thing. Dude, I know the lights are bright. You have a very tough job. You got a lot of people looking at you. I'm just telling my 2 cents on those things. Be on your own side, dude. You're working your butt off. You want to throw the football. You're the quarterback. Period. End of story. He doesn't have to get. There's nothing to be defensive about. But hey, I'm on team. I want to throw the ball.
Yeah, I don't even think he was being defensive. I think he was just like, hey, if that's what Ben said, I agree, and this is it's not a me. That's not a me decision. That's a him decision, and that's what we're gonna do. I think he was trying to say like, I'm the soldier. He's the captain. That's what we're gonna do this week. That's what he said, and that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
But he elongated it, and I think you're just reading too much into that part of it. I don't think he was being defensive or trying to or any of that. I think he was just kind of, hey, I'm tagged along with what Ben said if that's what he said.
Maybe.
But that's the other aspect of it too. He has to go off of, he doesn't know what he said or Ben said. He has to base off of what Grody's saying he said. So now we're playing a little bit of
if he said that.
Right.
Now, regardless, dude, you got this. You're the number 1 overall pick. You're the QB. You want to sling it. And I'm on Team Ben. And Don't worry about these.
Which is what he said.
Don't worry about them.
That's what he said. This isn't a me decision. That's a him decision. That's him saying, I'm Team Ben. That's what he said. That's what we're going to do.
Okay. All right. See, I didn't even go too far on the overanalysis. I think it was not too far. It was
Not too far. It's just you do this. This is what you do. I think.
What do I do? What do I do?
You overanalyze the press conferences. This is a 3-year tradition.
3 years.
Well, we're on 4. We're on year 4.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this since I was like 10. I just would sit there and like listen to MJ, and I'd be suddenly, and I'm like, see, he's mad at Krause. I could feel it. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Gotta look at like so. All right.
Yeah.
Bet the Bears 6.5. Hey, coming up the rest of the week, we got Hoge and Jahns tomorrow, right, Steven? Hoge and Johnsy on Friday. And then tonight at what time is
6 p.m. Central.
Brick by Brick.
The Brick by Brick podcast.
Special guest
Willie Young, former Chicago Bear and Detroit Lion, former teammate of Lance Briggs. He was great. I mean, he's a ball of energy. He's going to be joining. We're going to have our blueprint segment that we brought last week, kind of laying out the blueprint of how the Bears can beat the Detroit Lions. And so we got a lot of fun stuff for you guys to watch tonight at 6, leading into Thursday Night Football, Commanders at Packers. So we've got, some rooting interest tonight too. Hopefully Green Bay can get taken down, get knocked off their spot after riding the high horse of their Super Bowl Week 1 win.
We definitely need to step back from what we saw Week 1. They roll the Commanders.
It's kind of like, for Bears fans, like, no matter what happens tonight, it's like, you want Green Bay to lose, period. But
Jaden throws for 400.
But then Jaden, like, it's a no-win situation tonight for Bears fans, unless there's a tie.
I'll be watching it, and I'll be hanging out in the Discord tonight. So be a diehard, hang out in Discord. You get Bro Delicious, you get Game of Jones, you get Chaz, you get Miller.
That's right.
Everyone's gonna be hanging out
and
tonight.
Chim Richels and Don Burr. They've been in the chat all day. This is Detroit week. You two can stick it. I also on a little bit different of a segue. I want to give a shout out to a young man named Jace Krause. He's been going through it here.
Oh no!
And we're gonna send him. I'm gonna send him a nice care package here. He was in the pediatric ICU at Lutheran General here over the last few days. He did get released from the hospital, but he's a young in youth football, and he had something come up, and they weren't really sure what was going on. And he had to go to the hospital. It sounds like he's gotten out and things of that nature here in the last 24 hours. So I wanted to give Jace a shout out here to end the show. I meant to do it the other day, but we've had a lot going on with the post games and stuff, so I apologize that I didn't get to this earlier in the week. But I promise I'm going to send you guys a nice care package, and I'm glad to hear that you're back home, and hopefully your recovery is speedy.
Yeah, I didn't know we were ending on the serious note. Get better. That's thinking about you, Jason. Thank you for bringing that to light there, Gregory, and care package and all. First class. Appreciate it. We do have one super chat that we'll hit on the way out here. That's Dalton Peterson, $5. On a much lighter note, Carm, congrats on the 3-peat. It's obvious what you have to do now. You have to retire and play basketball for a year. Pull the reverse Jordan. I know a lot of people would love if I retired or got fired. Anything's possible. But I don't know if I got the, I got Achilles issues, and my right knee was bugging me today. I don't know if I can really go basketball. And plus, like Mike, when he went off the board and followed his childhood love. So to me, this would be kind of a move into either a professional ping pong, or maybe I'd lean into a badminton. Ball boy would be good. I could, they travel the USTA, go to the Australian Open. I'll have to think about it, but appreciate the contribution there, Dalton. Gregory?
And if you're Phil Jackson, then
yeah,
but that means there's no way that Jake Flanagan is Jerry Krause. Like, that can't be.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm just saying, like, Jerry always got in the way of the Bulls 3-peats, right?
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that we get the 4-peat next year.
So Jake being the GM is my GM.
Right.
Yeah, but Jake is.
And Brandon's not Reinsdorf.
No, Jake is Red Auerbach in his prime.
I see. That's what I was looking for. Like, who is Jake to this dynasty?
He's drafting Bird a year ahead and bringing him in. He's trading for McHale. He's bringing in Robert Parrish. He's doing all the right things. Brandon Spano, if we were going to think about who he would be owner-wise, I mean, to me, he's Mark Cuban. It's
Mark Cuban?
I mean, front and center, all the energy.
Yep.
Cuban, Spano, Cuban.
Yep, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and you are John Ligomanowski. They're laughing. They don't even know who that is over there. John Ligomanowski was the Bulls equipment manager, and he was amazing in the locker room, and he was just a glue guy.
Glue guy.
Yeah. You're
Tony Medlin.
You're Tony Medlin. No, you're honestly, you're more like Cuddy. You're like
Cuddy.
You're like a Jay Cutler, Devin Hester, Devin Aroma-Shadu combo. All three.
Devin Aroma-Shadu
came out of nowhere. Aroma-Shadu for a minute. Aroma-Shadu had a minute where he came out of nowhere. You're an Aroma-Shadu with the talent of a Devin and sort of the surliness and the unpredictability that you'll absolutely kill somebody if they cross you and Jay Cutler.
It's like Mongo.
You got a little Mongo too.
Got a little Mongo.
You don't have the toughness of Mongo.
No. Find out here in a minute. HR.
HR is right. Hey, I had a lot of fun today with you, Gregory. Shout out to Johnsy for popping on. Shout out to Steven. Devin producing, rocking it, stepping in the big chair today. That's right. Emma doing her regular sleigh routine over there. Slay, slay, slay. And slay, slay, slay.
End the show.
End the show. All right. Brick by Brick coming up at 6. Hogan Jahns tomorrow. I will talk to you next Sunday pregame Bears Lions. We'll see you then.